All right, what is up, fitness family? Welcome to another episode of the True Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Adrian Conway, and I'm joined by Coach Chance Porter today. Chance, what's up, man? Another day, living the dream.
Another
How you
day.
doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Right when we hopped on here, I noticed the beanie. It's winter season. We're both in Utah, man, but you're just a little bit further and higher up in elevation in those
Yeah.
mountains than I am.
Yeah.
Little cold up in your neck of the woods.
Cold in the neck of the woods. Got an old house. Need to get that fireplace going.
There you
Got the
go.
wood stacked. I just haven't thrown much in. So
Hey, that's the
maybe
best. You
today.
guys, yeah, you guys got the real thing. We got a fireplace, which is convenient. You flip the switch, turn on that gas. So I've been using it for like the last 2 weeks already. In the morning time, it's one of the ways I set the morning mood for
Yeah.
some good coffee, some good quiet time, a little bit of open scripture. Like it's my jam. It's gone to be. That's how I know I'm getting old. Also, by the way, that's how I know I'm getting real
When you
old.
wake up
It's like
early to read because you have silence. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And it's like super peaceful. I can think about my day ahead of time. But man, yeah. Anyways, it's the good stuff. And we're certainly entering the winter season here in Utah. But today, what we wanted to do, team, is get into some questions that have been proposed to us or topics of choice from within our True Fitness private group. We have a private group in the school app that we recently just started for everybody that's a part of All Access or works with one of our coaches on staff from a one-to-one perspective. Once you sign up, you'll gain an invite to be entered into that group. And of course, we have some candid conversations. We have some topics that we cover and discuss. We put in some of our podcast episodes and other educational sources there to, of course, inspire and educate people. But we offered it up to some of them today to be able to ask us a question. And one came from one of our athletes. And we picked this one because we think it's pretty pertinent or important for this time of year for a lot of folks. So I know she's not alone here. But the question came from Allison, and the question was, I would love to hear more about open prep mindset. And this is specifically about open prep and quarterfinals. Not just strategy, but what's your mindset going into day in and day out training and even competition, especially when, and this is the important highlight, when you are training alone or in a non-competitive gym environment. My gym doesn't tend to get too hyped up about that time of year the way that I enjoy. So, with that being said, again, I think a lot of people can relate to this, Chans. A lot of people seek out online programs or they seek out online coaches because the environment that they have around them, or maybe the coach's level that is around them, isn't meeting their needs with where they want to go. What is your natural like gut response to a question like this when you get it, or maybe any suggestions that you'd make to people just like, hey man, I'm in kind of like a lax environment. I train by myself. How do I get ready for the intensity of competition?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I would think of is, if you're wanting to compete or you want to get better, then the mindset or the approach has to be, it's more important than just, there has to be a reason of why you're doing it. Kind of like what you shared today, right? There has to be a reason behind it. I want to compete for X amount of reasons. Hey, it's to do this or whatever the case may be. So I think that kind of plays a big role. I think the second thing would be that, I don't know. Sometimes when I think about not having a supportive gym, it would maybe mean that, like, I don't know, then if that's the case, maybe filming yourself can give you a little bit more of an advantage. If you feel like there's no one that can compete with you, then maybe I film and kind of look at times from that sense. I don't know. I'm trying to think of other like kind of scenarios where it could be helpful.
Yeah. Well, I think that's plenty, man. I think that you have now at least lended an opportunity for us to have this discussion about it because both of those examples that you just gave are wonderful because the first one starts with internal, right? So it's internal. Do you really want it or do you want to want it? Okay.
Right.
And that is what you're alluding to on what I posted. I posted on social media. It's 11:20. 25 today is recording this podcast if you guys are listening or watching at a different time. And I made a post on social media, so you can go find it on the True Fitness Instagram channel or my personal Adrian Conway _, on it at Instagram. And it was a set of carousels, so a set of images that alluded to the fact that a lot of people that I've worked with throughout my history of coaching and leading, they say they want a thing, but they don't actually want the thing because they don't actually know what it means to have the thing. They don't know what it means to live the life to be a top 5% in the open athlete. They don't know what it means to have the training built up in the years previously to do that and the sacrifices that it means. And of course, I'm using the open as an example here, but it could be like, hey, I want to lose 10 pounds of body fat, but the God honest truth is that a lot of people don't realize that they have to be someone different to be 10 pounds lighter with body fat and walk around and sustain that throughout their life if they actually want that thing, right? They can't remain who they are in their lifestyle and their choices and then expect to be something different physically. And that's what Chan's alluding to is like, first, you got to ask yourself, do you really want the thing or do you want to want it? So let's just start here where in your mind, Chan's, like, where do you see? So someone comes to you and they're like, hey, man, I really want to be a quarterfinals athlete every year. Like, I don't want it to be a stress. I want to be one of those people who does the 3 open workouts. And then like, I know I'm going to quarterfinals. What's that look like for someone?
Yeah. First thing I would say is, okay, what's the reason? Why do you want to be a quarterfinals athlete? Is it just so you can tell your girlfriend that you made it to quarterfinals, or is there something deeper? Right. And maybe it's just for the love of, you just want to, I think a lot of people probably, like for me, for example, competing, I just want to see like how much better I can get. I just want to improve.
Yep.
I want to be the best person I can be, and that may be a good value. I think at some point when I competed, I just wanted to like check the box and be like, I just want to be known as this person. Cause for some odd reason, if I'm known as a regional athlete, I'm going to be famous or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Hey man, those are the good old days, but you're not lying though.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, you made it to regionals and you saw, like, I'll use an example for like OG stuff. And this is always going to be reminiscent. Please, I hope one day regionals comes back. And I say that because this is why it was so cool to us, is because if you showed up to, let's say, I mean, the regionals was in Salt Lake in 13
or 14, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It was both years. So 13 and 14, it was in Salt Lake. And, it was like when you showed up there, first off, everybody in Utah within the CrossFit community was there, and their mothers and their cousins and their grandmothers. And then of course you had Colorado, you had Arizona, you had New Mexico, you had Nevada, right? Like all those states were in the Southwest. So it was just the cream of the crop. And like, you saw these people, you interacted with these people. Instagram wasn't as big a deal then, but it was like, that didn't matter. None of that stuff mattered. These were the names that you saw on the leaderboard. You wanted to be there, rub shoulders. And it did create this like fandom. And it felt like famousness, at least from within our small little, CrossFit community. But I think that's really cool. And I just wanted to pin that, because I think some people, one, that follow us and will follow True Fitness, they weren't around for those OG days. So they don't even know what that was like. And it was like, I'm talking
Amazing.
peak. This is the reason that we were able to die in the open for 5 weeks straight with not even caring. Like, we were like, yeah, let's go. We're fired up to die, because that was what we were trying to aim for, was that regional experience. But yes, back to on track now, because I can be a bit of a distraction. You're talking about your why, whether it's going to be a girlfriend, whether it's you want to be the best version of you, or whether it's that external fulfillment of like, hey, I wanted a little bit of fame and I wanted to be there with those guys.
Right. And I think internal's obviously going to pay off more than external, right? I mean, external only gets you so far. And then at some point you realize, you know what, all these burpees aren't really worth this, or, I don't care if I have a 6-pack, it's not worth it, or whatever. Right. So I think that's the first question. And then I think the second question, kind of what we talked about last time, is that if you want to be, for sure, shoe in for quarterfinals, then you have to look at past open leaderboards and assess what the weaknesses are and what the strengths are. And then you need to cater to those throughout the year. And now a lot of people, I think, don't like to do that, because obviously the things that I usually suck at are the things that I don't want to do.
Yeah.
Right. If I'm horrible at thrusters and burpees, why would I want to do those?
Right. Yeah.
Which partly comes back to, I think, the whole motivation. If you're motivated internally to do it, then you're probably going to suck up and do it. And if you're not, then you may, miss out on some days and what have you, or maybe decide to change a movement, or that you don't really need it that bad, or whatever. So I think a lot of that kind of plays a role in it for sure. But I think the biggest is the mindset approach of, what motivates you, and can you be motivated if nobody's there as well? Like, can you motivate yourself, you know?
Yeah. And
I think that's the biggest key with, like, if you follow a training program that is just catered towards you, or you're by yourself, dude, you have to imagine that you're racing somebody who's not there.
Yep.
And that does definitely, in my opinion, it definitely helps. Like, if you're doing, let's say, I don't know, a workout with rounds of 5 clean and jerks at 185, right? And you need to know you need to stay on pace. Well, then probably you start to get in your head of like, all right, I'm going to do a clean and jerk, count to 3 and do another one, count to 3 and do another one. And that keeps you on pace. But sometimes people never know how to do that, because all they ever do is racing somebody, and then when they're stuck by themselves, they're kind of lost in this no man's lands of, oh, I thought I only rested 5 seconds. It turned out to be 20 seconds. I didn't know what I was doing, So I think part of that's a skill as well.
Huge skill. Huge skill. And you just named some things that are extremely important for people who want to be consistent in the competitive side. Because the couple truths here are that if you're following a program by yourself or at an affiliate, maybe you're not training completely alone, the likelihood of you being a big fish in a small pond is really high, right? If you want to be this perennial quarterfinals athlete that then maybe even has a chance at semifinals, whether it's age group or in the open division. And if that's true, you're probably the best or in your area. And if you're not, you got people to chase. So that's good on you. And you're really blessed to be surrounded by other top level athletes and psychos like us that want to be pushed. Right. So that visualization that you mentioned first with like, you have to pretend that you're chasing someone is so true, because even if you are with others, but you're constantly beating them, you will not progress. The reason you will not progress, because we know that you improve best when you're at your threshold, which means your top end speed for whatever movements you're doing and whatever combination they are for that day. If you're not at the end of your physiological and psychological limitations, you won't keep improving. You will win because you're winning and training against the people that are lesser athletes or lesser fitness than you. And that might give you a good feeling. But then when you show up to other people who've actually been at the end of their physiological and psychological tolerances regularly, they will have left you in the dust, right? So there is always this element of psychological trickery that we often have to play on ourselves. And I tell people all the time, you have to constantly have this voice in your mind that you're not going fast enough. Equally, you have to know that you can't be sprinting a 400 in a 2-mile race, right? So that is literally, and I kid you not, folks, I'm going to tell you this right now. That is literally the hardest part about CrossFit, is that this is not an exercise methodology where you come in and you turn off your brain. If that's what you think this is, if you think you can just be dumb and like be the toughest person out there, you're so wrong, and you will fall so completely short of your performance goals that you'll never even get close to them, because you have to be everything up here because of all of this, because it's a constant battle. Even when I'm breathing hard and my body feels like it's failing me, I have to think, is this too fast? Can I sustain this? Is this the time now for me to be feeling like this, or is it too soon? And then that evil voice on my left shoulder still has to remind me, this is too slow. You're going to get lapped. You will not qualify, right? Like those things. And that's just constant for me. Now, so that's me supporting that first point that you made. And I love it that you brought it up, because we can go back to that all the time, brother. We're going to need to talk about that all the time. We'll talk about it at our camp, because it involves visualization. It involves a mindset that will lend itself as an advantage day in and day out, which is another thing. Just a quick drop. We're hosting an open prep camp December 13th at CrossFit Unknown in Morgan, Utah. Anyone local to Utah, get your butt signed up. Come on out. We want to get it done early. It's last minute in regards to announcement, so I apologize about that. But equally, we wanted to expedite this process because of the way the season works in 2026. So that means we have a little bit less prep work for people that want to qualify to semifinals. And we understand that it's not like our camp is going to give you fruit, but our camp is only going to give you fruit to go back and implementing your training and build fitness off of this experience. If we do a camp 3 weeks before the quarterfinals, what can we really do? Not a lot. We're going to help you refine some mechanics and refine some things, of course. But if we can refine them earlier. So this is your call to urgency, folks. Find a link. Go to our website. You can sign up on the website. We do have limited slots. It's going to be a relatively intimate camp, one of our smaller ones. So please go reserve your spot now. Now back on topic, out of my marketing and promotional role within the company. You also mentioned a camera. And I think this is where the rubber meets the road, bro. This is it. Because you mentioned a camera, and all that other stuff that we talked about is cool. And it's good if you can think, oh, I'm not going fast enough, or, oh, maybe my coach needs to give me a time to beat. First off, you always need a time to beat. I'll tell you, you can't make it. You're not going to be great, because you have no self-awareness for like how to really push yourself to get better. The time won't help you beat me. Because if you beat a time and then I show up beside you and I'm running a little bit faster than that time, or you're not going to make the time, and you don't know what it's like to lose, or you don't know what it's like to lead or follow or be in this position where your mind is what's guiding you, not the clock, you're going to have a hard time from a developmental standpoint when you're out on the floor, when it's quarterfinals and all that. So I lead in with that. But the camera never lies. Chance, what made you bring up the camera, and what value do you think that brings to an athlete?
Yeah, well, number of things. I think the first thing it does is it lets you know the truth about how much you're resting, how much you're working, right? I mean, we're all, you've been in a workout in it deep, and you're like, all right, I'm counting to 10 and then I'm going. And then you do it and you're like, dude, that was like a 20-second rest. Like,
Easily.
holy cow. Dude, I rested forever. No wonder it
Yes.
took me so long, you
Yep.
know? So I think that's the first thing. The other thing I think that's really important with the camera is you don't know until you know, meaning you may think that your form is perfect until you start to watch on the camera. And then you're like, wow, I didn't know I had this bad tendency with, you know, touch and go snatches, or when I'm really tired in the front squat position, or whatever the case may be. And those are kind of things that can level you up quite a bit, right? I mean, when you can kind of see your deficiencies, I mean, because if we're talking about people who are, let's say, top 1% quarterfinals, go to semifinals, whatever, chances are they already move really well. The only difference from them compared to the others is how you move under fatigue, basically, or when the weight's, you know, close 80-90% of your 1 rep max or whatever. The games athletes move perfect all the time, or pretty close to perfect, no matter what.
A lot of them do. A lot of them do.
Yeah. There's some out there, but like
I'll say, listen, real quick. I'll say some really surprise me.
Yeah,
and they do something, and I'm like, hey man, come on, man. Who's your coach? Listen, we got to work on that air squat. We got to work on that air squat so that overhead squat's better. And then you're going to be much in a better position. So anyways, but continue on. What you're saying is the cream of the crop do move well for sure, by and large.
And that's like the most important thing, I think. And so sometimes filming under fatigue, you know, gives you the truth about what you look like.
That's right.
And that can help you, right? You see, okay, I did a workout with thrusters and muscle ups, and wow, I didn't know that my arms flare out on the muscle ups all the time. Like, that's something I can fix, and that could give me a couple more, make me stay fresh or whatever.
Exactly. Or you learn, like, and this is another example with the muscle up that I'm constantly coaching, which is why I say it. People get away from doing kipping stuff, right? No kipping pull-ups, no chest to bar kipping pull-ups. They're all doing butterfly. They think that's just the coolest trick. And it's cool because you got to use it when you're racing people. In training, the value of learning that and learning it well is that it carries into that bar muscle up when you have to drive your hip open and you feel the sense of weightlessness. And there's a different carryover there. I feel like for people who are good kippers in the pull-up and the chest to bar pull-up, that if they've been doing butterfly for some time and they're not even that great at it, just for the racing sake, or they think it's a cool skill, they lack that bar muscle up development there with opening the hip. And then that develops a chicken wing. Sometimes it develops that lack of hip drive. So then they blow up earlier, they pull short, and then they fail. And then they, you know, you're just taking it right in the chest with the rig there. So that's just another common fault that I see. So it's like, you might be able to identify that. It's like, oh my gosh, I see from the side that I'm pulling, my arms are straight for a long time. And then I actually never really drive my hips at the bar. I'm just trying to like swing into a muscle up instead of a kipping, really what a kipping bar muscle up is. So the camera doesn't lie. Chance, I'll even back you up with this point. Movement efficacy is extremely important. Yes, it's the feedback that you need. I would say this: anyone that follows any program we write, any program, gosh, if you're not a true fitness athlete, I'm not sure what you're waiting for, because it's $19.99 all access, 8 live programs. Don't be stupid. So that's my first point. Second point is that I don't care if you follow any program, and I don't care if you don't want to perform. If you just want to like look better with your clothes off, if you want to find out what you can lift one day, if you want to be the fittest version and healthiest version of yourself, you should film yourself exercise. And I know not everyone's environment is like best for that. And I'm not talking about filming yourself to post it to social media. And so if you're worried people will judge that you're doing that, I feel bad for you in that way, but like, don't sweat that, because what I want you to understand is that every human needs to be a student of their movement. If you don't go to a CrossFit gym and you're not getting eyes on your squat or your lunge or your press or your bench or your pull up, it has to get better, or you will run into plateaus. You probably move like trash. Your shoulder hurts. Well, it's because you don't even set up properly for a bench press, and you've been bench pressing since you were 15 years old and no one told you how to do it right. Or like, you know, it's the same thing with a strict press. You have no idea what the frontal plane is. You can't even get the bar directly over your head, and here you are trying to hold a couple 100 pounds over your head or whatever it might be. And it's the same with men and women. Women want to squat nowadays, and they're trying to get in this understanding of like, oh my gosh, women need strength training and all this stuff, but they do it with poor form because they're not either getting one-to-one program design and feedback, or they're not watching themselves move. So my biggest take is like, anybody, performance, aesthetic, or lifestyle driven, record your movement and get feedback. That's also part of our all access now. Coach Chan is going to be in there and telling you to drive your knees out and get your chest up on your squat and telling you look like trash. But he's only going to say that out of love so that you can improve it. I kid there. And then this is my last statement on that particular topic, Chan, is that people hit us up all the time. Like, and you'll get this as coach. You did not watch them do the workout, right? But let's say I get into the Coach RX app and I see a time of 18:37 and it's on a chipper. I expect it to be a longer time domain. I set them a goal of like, the cap here is 20 minutes. They post their time and then they say to me, Coach, do you think that was a good time? And my response is, I have no idea. Send me the video. The reason I have no idea is because your time might be fine. It was under the cap that I prescribed. Good job. However, if I see that you've done something as an error with movement faulting, like maybe not complete reps, or that you're like having all this time suck and there's all this waste because you constantly go and chalk your hands after every time you break the toes to bar, or you went really big on your first round. In your first round, you finished in 220. That tells me that this workout could have probably been done in under 17 minutes and instead you finished in 18:30. And although you expect me to say, was that good or not? I have no idea because it's so much more than the time. The time matters so much less than most athletes realize. The way that you beat someone in training matters so much less than you realize. And it's how you did it. It's not what you do, it's how you do it in training. Because then that gives the fitness and the lesson so that we can compete at the next level. So I don't know if you've got anything to mention specifically about that, but like, dude, to me, that's in the online sector, it's the biggest obstacle. Right. I have to teach people like it doesn't, you send me a time and you're like, coach, so, what do you think I need to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't see it. Right. You got to film it. You got to film it. I know it's annoying because you got to make sure you got storage on your phone. You got to make sure that you probably upload it to YouTube or something, because don't send me the whole file. That'd be bad. Just go ahead and, upload it to YouTube or Vimeo or something. Just send me a link. I'll watch it or watch up snippets of it or whatever it is. But it's a big part of it. And I think I want to educate all the athletes on like, that's a huge priority because again, it's so much more than a time, which is why I can be resistant for competitors that want times to shoot for, because it's irrelevant until I see how you do it.
Yep. Yeah. And I would, kind of what we said before too, experimenting is what will let you know what the fastest time could be, right? Oh, doing these hang power cleans, the sets of 10s unbroken, or maybe I do 5 and 5 with a short rest. Like I know for me, right? I always race this other dude in the gym, and I know for me, he's like the opposite of me. He's like, hey, short, small reps and short rest. And I'm like, dude, I want a huge freaking chunk so I can rest longer. Like that's what I want,
Got it. Yeah.
So then I know that like, hey, I should probably work more smaller sets and things, and he should probably work bigger ones, just to kind of even out the fitness. But like those are things that like I've done enough that I know, okay, when I do small sets, I end up resting longer. So I probably need to work on that more or whatever, and you do that by experimenting and filming yourself, because then you can see like, oh, maybe it wasn't as long as I thought it was. That's good. Maybe I can do smaller sets or whatever.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So to kind of put a button on this topic, I think we've covered a few things. One is that it really starts with your why. You have to have a big internal driver. You have to also have some sense of accountability. You could have a coach, like a one-to-one coach. You could have a group that holds you accountable. You could also use your own camera. Without feedback from a coach that really knows what they want to see, it still is a little shaky, but I almost guarantee you that if you are resourceful, you can get online, you can watch some of the best in the sport do a thing. And then you can say, wow, my thing doesn't look like their thing. I need to make it look more like their thing. And then you just troubleshoot and you do your best. That's if you got no money to invest in your training and development, that's at least you could start there. So consider that and utilize this as a source analysis. And I hope this helps frame your mind too on how you might be in a situation where you feel like, I'm not surrounded by the most competitive people. They don't get really hyped for the open. I would say that you don't need that. And the reason I would say that is because of the reasons that we gave you. If your internal driver is strong enough, and you've got us as a support system as well. So, but if your internal driver is strong enough, you can do anything. Two, if you have that understanding about the accountability, your movement quality, and having that urgency of like, I'm going too slow, and pushing the threshold day in and day out, listening to your body through training, getting advice where you can for the people that you're leaning on, you'll be fine. If you look at the best in our sport, if you even look back at someone who's recently retired, Brett Fikowski, if you look at someone in their latter years of competition that's been doing it for a long time, Pat Vellner, these two men have had a very unique ability to do it like at a very high level by themselves. Not saying that they didn't do anything together, not saying that they didn't have any level of support, but I'm saying that they didn't necessarily always have a community, and they certainly weren't always surrounded by athletes. These guys are known for the self grind that they have, and that might need a little bit unique mindset, but it's certainly something that anybody can have. Change, you got anything to add on this topic before we wrap it up?
No, I think you covered it.
Love it. Well, hopefully this brought you some value, team. This has been another episode of the True Fitness Podcast. We're going to hit you with another one here shortly. And we're just going to kind of browse through some of these topics. So again, if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, if you're listening to it, on your source of podcasts, then feel free to please reach out to us for topics that you want us to cover and any ways that you would like us to activate your learning experiences and anything that brings value to your training. So good luck. Hopefully we see you. If you're coming to the camp, sign up ASAP. We're going to be running out of slots. Keep rising.